Something really crazy was recently DATAMINED: Skyborne Elves. Potentially these druidic, nature-oriented high elves that combine magic and nature magic, and they could all be related to the new troll island that we will visit very soon. We've DATAMINED things like windwells that seem to be like a mix between blood elven and night elven aesthetics. This is combined with the potential playable amani that have a lot of potential right now, as well with a brand new customization system they plan to introduce. Blizzard is soon planning to completely revamp the entire customization system from the ground up with new animations and features. Think of it like you pick a troll, you can choose like darkspear, amani, zandalari. Same could be done for the elves and all these minor variations. So who are these Skyborne elves and what is everything we know? If you think classic, especially hardcore, there is the perfect survival guide with rested XP. It gives you the safest routes, hostile enemy warnings, and now even with TBC hardcore it will be 100% optimized for straight survival, amongst getting the absolute best, most optimal routes and information. Furthermore, rested XP offers midnight guides too, but best of all, if you use my link below, you will get 10% off your order immediately. So check out rested XP. So, you can probably see this being spread everywhere as a pretty big leak, DATAMINED thing that isn't just some fan concept, but a lot of very suspicious evidence is currently going around with this thing. You start immediately with something important. Some 3 months ago, we had an official Blizzard interview where they were asked to, will midnight, and not midnight release, but could we expect like high elves in the middle of midnight? Could we expect to see a new elven tribe, likely one we had never seen before? And without spoilers, their answer was something along the lines of maybe we will learn a lot more about the elves in general, more than we had known thus far. So immediately this opens up the gate for something that is very probable, but we have like 2 big bits of evidence that I kind of want to cover immediately. First, we're expecting a huge customization revamp, and this will change WoW from the ground up, indicating that this was going to be a big project for the World Soul Saga. And second, are elven druids that have been strongly foreshadowed to be added in this expansion. So for the evidence itself about what exactly are these Skyborne elves and why is the community even talking about it. So about a month back, we DATAMINED some incredibly interesting features. We DATAMINED a Skyborne banner, which has a very strange like theme to it. It says Culture Elven Expansion Midnight, and we also DATAMINED a well called the Skyborne Windwell, as well as a bow related to the Skyborne that mentions high elves. Now, here is what is very interesting about this whole thing. I mean, these elves seem to be high elves, but they also seem to have like this rustic, like nature, night elven druidic theme to it, like the Skyborne thing, indicating that they're kind of similar to those Khazalgar riders that we know about. The community created some very interesting concepts of like these sort of druidic barbarian type of high elves, not really as cultured or as civilized in the same manner as like arcane users on first glance, and this is kind of a brand new concept, but it is also incredibly well tied with quite a few bits of evidence. So first of all, Skyborne aligns perfectly with elves in general, highborn, nightborn, just the name of it and such, but if you remember from Warcraft 3, the elves had a prominent flying class which played some of the most critical roles in the Third War. Now this kind of goes a few ways, but with the Windwell, I'm not sure if it is the case, but still this could be like a group of like wind riders, high elven ones that were just kind of left stranded during the conflict with the Scourge. But the most likely aspect is that I think this is a hidden elven tribe, very likely located somewhere around that new troll isle that we will go to in 12.1. The reason for that is that their banner is something we had never seen before, and the Windwell is a very strange concept. I mean, very strong druidic nature theme to it, looks like a moonwell, but it is a windwell, which might indicate something related to, well, these guys being skyborne, like traveling through the winds. Now what this plays into is the very strong evidence of us getting blood elven druids in this expansion, and I've talked about this for months now, from interviews mentioning elves to questlines showing the blood elves healing nature and using druidic magic, to them talking about switching to different types of magic they can use, to actual blood elven inspired druidic forms that we have discovered even in the Midnight Alpha. This kind of perfectly aligns with them introducing this. However, now you may think, I mean, okay, this kind of sounds interesting, could be a potential tribe, we could discover maybe some just elven content for 12.1, so it's not just a simple troll patch. So far, we have discovered quite a bit of amani content for this isle, being related to some crazy deity that can even be demon related. It was summoned to defeat an old god general, and then this isle was hidden. It was kind of deleted from history. There is a huge isle, as you guys have known for like months now, off the coast of Zul'Aman, but it was cut off. It is possible that a group of elves have somehow reached it and they just kinda live on it, or they live next door. We know that this temple was created to this deity that the Amani summoned from the Rift of Aln that defeated Kitix, the old god general in ancient history, and then at some point they had to delete this being from history because it was super dangerous. The elves arrived later, but we don't know when exactly they deleted this from history, and if these guys are like Skyborne, they could have literally just flew to this place. Nonetheless, the point is there could be a group of elves that were left stranded or just inhabited this isle that developed their own culture to navigate this isle like these Skyborne elves. Furthermore, I've also talked about this, but there is ample evidence of potential playable Amani from the fact that obviously a War Within race was made playable in Midnight to the fact that the Amani were built on orc skeletons. They have a lot more customization options and the ability to equip armor as opposed to most regular NPCs. So if Amani joined the Horde, these guys could join the Alliance. However, when I say this, I know it sounds like BS. I mean, wow, a new race discovered in the patch, that means it's playable, but just check out the other things that we know and how all of this kind of ties into the big picture. So, what I previously mentioned at the start of this video was the announced giant revamp of customizations. If you guys have not seen this, it's not actually new. I mean, this is news from a few months back, but long story short is Blizzard has talked about how there is currently a big problem with player customizations, character customizations. Like some races like the Haranir have a ton of brand new customizations. Some models are updated, some races are not, some have more options, some have less, and currently the player customization is kinda all over the place. The more recent races really have quite a bit of an advantage. So what they said is that they plan to do something very big, sort of like the changes to transmogs or the entire player housing, like one big system they plan to introduce. Well, all the player customizations will be streamlined and it will make a lot more sense. So in that regards, introducing these half races actually seems very likely. Just think about it. I mean, I also talked about this with the Amani trolls. I mean, currently the trolls that we have are just darkspear, but you also have the zandalari as like two separate races. But with this new like brand new system, you could just have playable trolls as like one race, and then you can pick darkspear, zandalari, amani, and all of them would technically have different stories, but it would really be one race. In a similar manner, alliance high elves or blood elves could be a thing, and then we could have all these different variations that we have from the void elves. So a big new system like this totally facilitates Blizzard introducing like these new smaller variations of the races. And I'm not talking just Amani or these potential Skyborne Elves, we're talking about other races as well that could all just be streamlined into one. It could technically even introduce like a customization option for things like Lightborn Undead, similar to Kalia, so you can like pick a regular Undead or a Lightborn one, or maybe even an Undead Elf, which could be interesting. This system is something they mentioned a couple of times already, and it includes new things like new player animations, new spell effects, new combat animations, and quite a few more very interesting features. So this DATAMINED Windwell and the Skyborne Elves could be something we will see very soon. I mean, based on the roadmap, 12.1 is coming out this summer, so we are very close, and it's likely 12.2 will be based around the World Soul and the transition to Northrend. So what we get until like 12.1.5 is probably most things we will get related to the Northern Eastern Kingdoms, Elves, and the Trolls. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on all the new features for the very possible Classic Plus that we could see very soon by clicking on the screen, and check out my brand new and subscribe to my brand new Witcher Lore channel that I recently opened by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!